शुक्लाम्भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु, सहनौ भुनक्तु, सह वीर्यं करवावहै, तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजाननपद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वति नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्जसम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா. லோகவீரியம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம். சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா. वागर्ताविव सम्पृक्तौ वागर्तप्रतिपत्तये जगतः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ। श्रीपार्वती परमेश्वराभ्यां नमः। कोमलं कूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम्। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन्। हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरणभ्यर्थितानपि अर्थान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी ध्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयम्। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशीविभूषितकरात् नवनीलदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടുമീറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി. ഏതീനു മഞ്ഞനെ കുമ്പീരേണ്ടാത്തോരു രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കുന്നായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the class. Let's do a quick review of Dasakam 3 today. So let me see who I had. Sorry. Is Lakshmi, Lakshmi Edavalli, you're on? Okay. Are you on, Lakshmi? Okay, can you one half, Lakshmi? Lakshmi Guru, like first half of Dasakam 3 maybe, and then Viji, you can do one half of Dasakam 3.
Sure. हठन्तो नामानि प्रमथभरसिन्धौ निपतिताः रमन्तो रूपं ते वरद कथयन्तो गुणकथाः चरन्तो ये भक्ताः त्वयि खलु रमन्ते परममून् अहं धन्यान् मन्ये समधिगत सर्वाभिलाषितान्
Bhilashita. So, Bhilashita. I think you said la, just la, Bhilashita.
विलषितान् कदक्लिष्टं कष्टं तव चरणसेवारसभरेऽपि अनासक्तं चित्तं भवति बत विष्णो कुरु दयाम् भवत्पादाम्भोजस्मरणरसिको नाम निवहान् अहं गायं कुहजन विवत्स्यामि विजने कृपा ते जाता चेत् किमिव न हि लभ्यं तनुभृतां मदीय क्लेशौघ प्रशमनदशा नाम कियति न के लोकेऽस्मिन् अनिभिषमयि शोकाभिरहिताः भवद्भक्ता मुक्ताः सुखगतिम असक्ता विधतते
That,
मुनि
sorry, one, I think it's third line. Just say the third line again.
न के लोकेऽस्मिन् अनिशमयि शोकाभिरहिताः
Okay, all right.
मुनिप्रौढारूढा जगति खलु गूढात्मगतयो भवत्पादाम्भोज स्मरणविरजो नारदमुखाः चरन्ति स्वैरं सततपरिनिर्भातपरिचित् सदानन्दाद्वैत प्रसरपरिमग्नाः किमपरम्.
The first line, Muni Praudha Rudhaha. We added a visarga there.
Okay.
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 And then the last line, Parimagnaha, that ich sound comes to join it. So Parimagnah Kimaparam.
Oh, okay.
Keep going here. Sorry, Lakshmi, I can hear you. Lakshmi, we can do one more stanza up to stanza 5.
To stanza 5? Okay.
Yeah, do one more stanza, yeah.
Is that Vidhuya? That's where it starts?
No, Bhavad Bhakti Spita. Sorry, what happened? What is the confusion?
Sorry, I am on a wrong. My computer just 1 second.
Yeah, I think she was saying the 7th one, Viduya. So it's 5th one, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 5th one. You have to come to Bhavad Bhakti Spita.
Can you give me 1 second, please?
Yeah. Or I can just have Vijay continue then otherwise.
Yeah, can you ask 1 second?
Yeah. Vijay, go ahead. Ninga start from the 5th line.
Sure. Bhavad Bhakti Spira Bhavatu Mama Saiva Prashamahet Ashesha Kleshaugam na Khalu Hridi Sandeha Kanika na Chedya Sakyotistava Chavachanam na Naigamavacho Bhaven Mithya Ratya Purusha Vachana Pramaya Kilam.
From the third line, Nachet Vyasas Yoktihi, that is there, we removed it and put a visarga and comma there.
Okay.
So Nachet Vyasas Yoktihi, and then a comma, okay?
Nachedyav Dyavasayoktihi Nachedyasyoktihi.
Yeah.
भवद्भक्तिस्ताव प्रमुखमधुरा त्वद्गुणरसात् किमप्यारूढा चेत् अखिलपरितापप्रशमनी पुनश्चान्ते स्वान्ते विमलपरिबोधदया मिलन् महानन्दादयित्वं दिशति किमत प्रार्थ्यमपरम् विधूया क्लेशन्मे कुरु चरणमयुगं धृतरशं भवत् क्षेत्रप्राप्तौ करमपि च ते पूजन् विधौ भवन्मूर्त्यालोके नयनम् अत ते पादतुलसी परिघ्राणे घ्राणं श्रवणमपि ते चारुचरिते प्रभूता दिव्यादिरस बचलिते मामकहृदि त्वदीयं तद्रूपं परमसुखचिद्रूपमुदीयात् उदञ्चाद्रोमांशु गलित बहुहारस् सास्त्रुनिविवहो यथा विस्मर्यासं दुरुपसमपीडा परिभवान् मरुद्गेहादीश त्वयि खलु परञ्चोऽपि सुखिनो भवत्स्नेहि सोऽहं शुभो परिताप्ये च किमिदम् अकीर्तिस्ते मा भूद् वरद गदभारं प्रशमयन् भवद्भक्तो तंसं जतिः कुरु मां कंसदमना
Jatiti, last word, second line. Second word, last line. Jatiti.
जतिति
Yeah.
जतिति कुरु मां कंसदमना किमुक्तेर्भूयोभिः स्तव हि करुणा यावदुदीयात् अहं तावद्देव प्रहित विविधारत प्रलपिता पितः ओके सॉरी पुराक्लिप्ते पादवरद तव नेष्यामि दिवसान् यथा शक्ति व्यक्तं नतिनुति सेवा विरचयान्.
So the first line, the kimuktair bhuyo bihi, and you're passing there, right? So that because you put that visarga, that is goes away. So next word is just tava chava, not sta. Okay, and the is sound doesn't come there anymore.
Kimuktair bhuyo bihi tava hi karuna yavadudiya.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Tava.
Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Okay, so we'll continue with Dasakam 4, and we'll go a little bit of 5 also today. So let's just see who I had. So Krishnanji, you can be student for the first half, and Amuta, are you on today? Let me see. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
For the first half as well. Okay, so I think we stopped until stanza 6 of the 4th Dasakam, right? We finished 6, so we'll start from 7. Tatsamasmadhana rupihim sthitim त्वत्समाधिमयि विश्वनायक आश्रिताः पुनरतः परिच्युतौ आरभेमहि च धारणादिकम्. So in the last class, we kind of started seeing the stages of the Ashtanga Yoga. Right? We came up to Dhyana, right? And where we said the Dharana stage, which is there before, is kind of where you're getting your mind focused onto the meditation, focusing on the form. And Dhyana is the state where it has kind of perfected that. And it's not a forcing thing. And it's like, they say Ekagra Chittam, with a single-mindedness, your mind has locked itself. And not only locking itself on the form, which is visible, but actually able to lock itself on the formless Brahman, right? That is the state it has actually reached in the Dhyana stage. Now, what we are saying in number 7 is, once you kind of reach that stage of Dhyana, then all of these stages, like we said, from 1 to 8, as you're kind of going through, right? If you fail a particular stage, or if you drop from a particular stage, you have to begin all over again. Right? You cannot just skip and just go on to the next one, or you cannot just go one low, right? So here it says on this particular stage, Dhyana, so when we hear stories about Vishwamitra, whose tapas got mixed because when Apsara Urvashi came and danced, etc., right? All of this is the breaking happens at this Dhyana stage, because at this stage, you are not thinking about anything else, and then but your that state can still get disrupted due to any number of reasons. And one of the reasons is some other external disturbances, not simple disturbances, but massive external disturbances could be there. The second possibility they also say is sometimes you are in a state where you're enjoying this state of dhyana. And that itself, the moment you start enjoying it, that itself will lead you into breaking out of it. So anyway, here Bhattacharya is saying that once I get to that state, if I end up slipping for any number of reasons, I will start all over again, right? To perfect this thing. Because then that's what takes you to the last stage eventually. So tat samaswadana rupinim sthithim, comma, tvat samadhimayi vishwanayaka ashritaha, put a F to join, ashritah punaratah, again put a F to join, punaratah parichyutau. So the easy way to say this is the letter va which is there, parichyuta vara, that letter va, we're going to break it. So it becomes parichyutau, au sound, comma. The next word will start with the a. Ara bhemahi cha dharanadikam. Tatsamaswadhana rupinhim sthithim tvatsamadhimayi vishwanayaka ashritah punaratah parichyutau arabhemahi cha dharanadikam. Yeah, Krishnan, do you want to go first? You're on mute, Krishnan ji. Yes.
तस्वमास्वदनरूपिणीं स्थितिं तस्वमाधिमयि विश्वनायक आश्रितः पुनरथ परिचितौ आवरमेहि च धारणिम्.
So that's a last line, the va sound goes away. So it's arabhemahi.
आरभेमहि च धारणाधिकम्.
Yeah, 2 times. Go ahead, one more time.
तस्मवासोदनस्वरूपिणीं स्थितिं तस्ममाभिमयि विश्वनायक आश्रितः पुनरतः परिचितौ आरभेमिह च धारणाधिकम्.
நானும் செகண்ட் சொல்லணும் இல்லையா சார்?
Yeah, 2 times, yeah.
ஓகே. தத்சமாஸ்வதன ரூபிணீம் ஸ்திதிம் त्वत्समाधिमयि विश्वनायक आश्रित पुनरद परिच्युतौ आरभेमहि च धारणाधिकम्. तत्समास्वदन रूपिणीं स्थितिं त्वत्समाधिमयि विश्वनायकम् आश्रिता पुनरद परिच्युतौ आरभेमहि च धारणाधिकम्.
First line end Vishwanayaka. You said Nayakam second time, just Nayaka only.
Vishwanayaka.
That's it, yeah. Stanza 8. Ittamabhyasana nirbharollasattvatparatma sukha kalpitotsavaha mukta bhakta kulamaulitam gataha sancharema shuka narada divate. So he says once you kind of, the next, as you're beginning to go to the next stage, he says before the next samadhi, from there a lot of things are going to happen. But just in this one, he says once you reach that state of dhyana, then you can actually become more easy, then give me more blessings to now go to the last state, which is a little bit more complicated, the state of samadhi, because once you go there, then you can actually become like Shuka Narada Devat, like Shuka Brahman, like Narada. I will be able to be the liberated devotee. Like we saw in Dasakam 3, Bhattacharya says how a liberated devotee doesn't have any worries, doesn't have any concern. They can keep going anywhere they want, constantly thinking about the Lord. He says once you kind of pass through all this, then finally I'm getting ready to go to the last step. So please bless me so I can get to that last step, which is the final liberation step, right? And then I can become like Shuka and Narada. So this first line, which is there, is a little difficult to break it. Okay. So itham abhyasana nirbharollasat. So I cannot break it, unfortunately. So itham abhyasana nirbharollasat. It sound there. Then put a plus. Tvat paratma sukha kalpitotsavaha. So those two kind of part of the sentences you say together, the entire line. Mukta bhakta kula maulitam gataha, comma, sancharema shuka narada divat.
Rajesh ji, நிர்பரோல்லசத்து வந்து நிர்பர பிளஸ் உல்லசத்துன்னு வராதா?
Nirbhara plus ullasat, but you can't say it as nirbhara
சொல்ல
ullasat.
சொல்ல முடியாது.
Yeah, it's nirbharollasat. That's why I'm not breaking it there. But you are right. Those it's nirbharaha and ullasat words, two words. Ittamabhyasana nirbharollasatvat paratma sukha kalpitotsavaha mukta bhakta kula maulitam gataha sancharema shuka narada divate.
इत्थमभ्यसन निर्भलोलसत्त्वत्परात्मसुखकल्पितोत्सवाः मुक्तभक्तकुलमौलिदां गताः सञ्चरेमशुकनारदादिवत् इत्थमभ्यसन निर्भरोल्लसत्त्वत्परात्मसुखकल्पितोत्सवाः मुक्तभक्तकुलमौलिदां गताः सञ्चरेमशुकनारदादिवत्
इत्थमप्यसन निर्भरोल्लसद इत्थमप्यसन निर्भरोल्लसत् त्वत्परात् सुखकल्पितोत्सवाः मुक्तभक्तकुलमौलितां गदाः सञ्चरमे नारदादिवत्.
Last line, the word sancharema.
सञ्चरेम शुक नारदादिवत् इत्थमप्यसन निर्भरोल्लसत् त्वत्परात्मसुखकल्पितोत्सवाः मुक्तभक्तकुलमौलितां कथाः सञ्चरेम सुखनारदादिवत्.
First line, you are saying nirbharolasat, and then you're ending it there. So it's nirbharolasatvatparat. So just put it, not it, because if you say just it, then you can continue the next half immediately.
निर्भरोल्लसत् त्वत्परात्मसुख.
So that the nirbharolasat, when you're saying, just take it a little bit down. Nirbharolasatvatparatma.
निर्भरोल्लसत् त्वत्परात्मसुखकल्पितोत्सवाः.
Okay. Stanza 9. Tvatsamadhi yah punaha mangshu moksha rasikah kramena va yoga vashyamanilam shadashrayaihi unnayat yajasushumnayashanaihi. We start, so this chapter and the next chapter is going to get a lot technical, and it's okay if you don't, if you don't care about it or if you don't understand it, it's okay. It's not the end of the world, right? But it is important to at least know what is there. So it says here, you finally reach the state of samadhi, which is the 8th state of Ashtanga Yoga. And when you reach this, when you say somebody is in a state of samadhi, what it actually means is, it is kind of your body, your mind, and your senses are no longer attached to this material world. It is actually directly connecting to the supreme consciousness. We'll see what the supreme consciousness Mahat is in the 5th Dasakam. It's going to come, the kind of creation of the universe. We'll talk about it. So it's essentially connected to the supreme consciousness, and you are essentially merging with the superpower. So that is the state of samadhi that you are actually in. Now, to once you attain that state, and what it gives you the ability to do now is, you all know Ida, Pingala, all these Nadi, and you know the 7 chakras which are actually there, right? So it says, if a person has to get liberated, right? So there are 101 Nadis which finally go and end at the crown chakra, the Sahasrara chakra, which is also called as a Brahmarandra chakra, because it says the God enters into your body through that. So 101 Nadis go and it connects through that. If the Jivatma, at the time of liberation, once you reach the state of samadhi, otherwise you cannot do all this. Once you are, for any of us, the Jivatma goes through any of the other 100 nadis, okay, and then it goes, there is always rebirth. The only way you can avoid the rebirth through the Ashtanga Yoga is to take your Jivatma through the Sushumna Nadi, which is connecting the base of your spine to the top of your head. It has to go up through the Sushumna Nadi, straight up, and then go out of the Brahmarandra, which is the top. It actually has to also go through the eyes. I'll talk about it a little later. But when it goes out through the Sushumna Nadi and goes, then you are getting liberated. If it is going through any of the other 100 nadis, you're not going to get liberated. You're going to be born again. Now, what this talks about is, and this is only achieved by complete control of the practice of Ashtanga Yoga. So when you hear about a lot of great sages and saints who say they are in a state of samadhi and they're getting liberated, essentially what they're doing is they've reached this final state of samadhi. Once they've reached the final state of samadhi, any time that they want, they can actually take the pranavayu through the Sushumna Nadi and they can exit it out of their body, right? So that is the state it is going to reach. And a little bit later, we'll talk about what are the two different ways to do it. But here it kind of says you take it to the Sushumna Nadi and that's the way to exit out. So Tvat Samadhi Bijaye tu Yaha, you put a F there, Yaf Punaha. So there you put a Visarga and comma, Punaha. Next word, Mankshu, ing sound. There's a ir on top that will go away because we put the visarga. Mankshu, moksha, rasikaha, put a ih to join, rasikah, kramenava, yoga vashyam anilam, shadhashrayehi. So add a visarga and comma there, shadhashrayehi, instead of the ru, comma. The ru becomes a u now. Unna yatyaja Sushumnaya Shanaihi. The Sushumnaya is represented Sushumna Nadi. Tvatsamadhi Vijayetu Yah Punaha Mangshu Moksha Rasikah Kramena Va Yoga Vashyamanilam Shadashrayehi Unnayatyaja Sushumnaya Shanaihi.
Tatsamadhi vijayetu yah punah mankshu moksharesigakramanava yoga vashyamanilam shadasraye unnayatyaya prushumanashanaihi.
Krishnanji, that first line and second line, there's a visarga like tuyah punaha and then shadashrayehi.
Yes. Okay. Tatsamadhi vijayetu punayaha mankshu moksharesigakramanava yoga vashyamanilam shadasraye unnayatyaya sushmanashanaihi.
The last line, right? You can separate it as unnayat yaja sushumnaya shanaihi.
Unnayatyaja sushumnashanaihi.
Yeah.
Rajesh, your quick
Yeah.
question. And the second line, Mangshu Moksha Rasika Kramena Vava, H or F?
H, because ka is coming, right?
Ah,
The
H.
ka
Okay.
comes, the H letter
Okay.
comes to join.
Thank you.
त्वत्समाधि विजयतु य पुनः मंशु मोक्ष रसिक क्रमेण वा योगवश्यमनिलं षडाश्रयैः उन्नयत्यज सुषुम्नया शनैः
Shanaihi.
शनैः त्वत्समाधि विजयतु य पुनः मंशु मोक्ष रसिक क्रमेण वा योगवश्यम् अनिलं षडाश्रयैः उन्नयत्यज सुषुम्नया शनैः.
And the second line also, shadashrayehi.
षडाश्रयैः
Sansaten. Lingadehamapi santyajannatu liyate tvai pare niragraha urdhvaloka kutukitu murdhataha sardhameva karanair niriyate. So now it starts getting a little bit technical here. So the Atma, it cannot just sit on its own. It always needs a carrier, right? There are two types of carriers. One of the carrier is what we are in right now, which is the stula shariram, which is the gross body, which has got everything, like what you are seeing, you, me, we all have the stula shariram. So when you are alive in this birth in the earth, you have the stula shariram. But once this Atma is now ready to leave, you take it through the Sushumna Nadi and you're ready to exit out and you're going to get liberated. It has to still travel a long way. For it to travel, it then takes on another carrier, another body, which is called as a Sukshma Shariram, which is negligible in size. It's not compared to like the size we are right now, right? So that also has a couple of layers of it. And when we are seeing how creation happens, it's got 5 layers. The Brahmandam will have 5 layers. Eventually, this Sukshma Shariram will also have 5 layers, because eventually when it is going through each of the layer, it sheds each of the layer and finally goes and merges with the Parabrahman. That's later, it will come later. So this thing, it talks about there are 2 types of muktis which are there, because it gives you a choice now, right? So once it goes through the 100 nadis, you don't get liberated. But when you're going through the Sushumna nadi, you have 2 choices. One is called as a Videha Mukti, which is a complete merging with the Brahman instantly. You are saying, I don't want anything else. I just want to get liberated and I want to merge with the Parabrahman. In which case, it says it has to go through your Agneya Chakra, which is the chakra which is between your eyes. It cannot go through the Brahmarandra Chakra. So you have to bring your, it's the thing, what you call prana vayu, right? It has to exit out between your eyes. When you do that, then you have instant liberation. You are immediately going and merging with the Brahman. You have an alternative choice. You say, what, I want to go to the second option, which is called as a Krama Mukti. And in the Krama Mukti, you says, I don't want to instantly merge. I want to actually go through the several layers of the Brahmandam, which is there, eventually go to Brahma, and we'll see that journey later in the next set of stanzas. And I want to take my time, in that case, you then take it through the top of your head. So those are the 2 choices, and you'll be able to get to the choice once you reach the state of Samadhi, right? So that's what he's actually saying here. People who want to go through the other regions, who want to go to Brahmaloka and all that, and then eventually get merged at the end of the Pralayam, can go through the Sahasrara Chakra. Others, you'll have to exit through the Agneya Chakra, which is between your eyes. So, Linga Dehamapi Santya Jannato, लीयते त्वयि परे निराग्रहः ऊर्ध्व लोक कुतुकी तु मूर्धतः सार्धमेव करणैर निरीयते. For a normal human being, when he or she dies, passes away, the life air, the prana vayu, can pass through any of the 7 holes that you have. Your eyes, your nostrils, your ear, your mouth, and your other excretion organs can pass through any of those places. But a true person who is going through the Ashtanga Yoga, they can block all of their holes so that the pranavaya doesn't exit. And then they can force it to exit between your eyes or between the Sahasrara, to the Sahasrara Chakra, right? So, Linga Dehamapi Santya Jannatho Liyate Twayi Pare Niragraha Urdhvaloka Kutuki Tumurdhataha Sardhameva Karanair Nihiyate.
लिङ्गदेहमपि सन्त्यजन्नधो लीयते त्वयि परे निराग्रह ऊर्ध्वलोककुतुकीतुमूर्धतः सार्धमेव करणैर्निरीयते. लिङ्गदेहमपि सन्त्यजन्नधो लीयते त्वयि परे निराग्रहः ऊर्ध्वलोककुतुकीतुमूर्धतः सार्धमेव करणैर्निरीयते.
लिङ्गदेहमभिसन्त्यसन्नतो लीयते त्वयि परे निराग्रहः ऊर्ध्वलोककुतुकीतुमूर्धः सार्धमेव करणैर्निरीयते. लिङ्गदेहमभिसन्त्यसन्नतो
Jannato.
लिङ्गदेहमभिसन्त्यजन्नतो लीयते त्वयि परे निराग्रहः ऊर्ध्वलोककुतुकीतुमूर्धः सार्धमेव करणैर्निरीयते.
The second line just before the comma, Murdhataha.
मूर्धतः मूर्धतः
Correct. That's 11. अग्निवासरवलक्षपक्षगैः उत्तरायण जुषा च दैवतैः प्रापितो रविपदं भवत्परो मोदवान् ध्रुवपदान्तमीयते. So very nicely, if any of you end up going, communicate with me later if that's what you see. But this talks about what is the journey of the soul once it exits, right? Now, if it goes through the Agneya Chakra, then you don't have any journey. You're instantly merged, right? No, you're liberated, you're instantly merging. Now, like we all say, I want to go visit Paris, I want to go visit all these places, right? You all have desires. When the soul also can say, what? Once I get the Ashta Siddhi, where I can either become light, I can become heavy, I can go anywhere, it may want to travel through the other 14 worlds of the Brahmanda, which we'll see what the 14 worlds are much later, but it will want to go. So that's why it says, if you want to get liberated, and if you want to be like Shuka Narada, where you are traversing through the various universes, still meditating on the Lord, right? Not for fun or pleasure, but still meditating, then you kind of go through Sahasrara Chakra. Now, the first step it happens is, it first goes to the plane of the sun, it says. Now, I don't know exactly what that is, but it has to wait there. The soul has to wait there for Uttarayana Kalam to come before it can go for liberation purposes. That's why Bhishma, even though when he was inserted, he had the power to give up his life when he wanted. And he was waiting for Uttarayana Kalam to come, because if he doesn't wait for the Uttarayana Kalam to come, the soul has to eventually go up to the plane of the sun and wait there for Uttarayana time to come, for it to get liberated. So he said, I would rather wait here. Plus, he wanted to see Krishna before he passed away. That's a different story altogether. But anyway, it first goes to the plane of the sun. From there, it first goes through what is known as a Vaishwanara planetary system, which is like a place where it removes all the unnecessary things from your Stula Shariram. That's the first step it goes through. Once it goes to the Vaishwanara planets, then it starts entering into the Shishumara circle, where the Dhruva Mandalam is situated, which is like the center of the Milky Way galaxy. So that's where in Dhruva Mandalam, there is a place called Shweta Deepa, where there's one another Vishnu who's residing there. We'll see who the different types of Vishnus are much later. There's one Vishnu who's residing there in the Shweta Deepa in Dhruva Mandalam. So the soul has to first go there, kind of pay a toll or do homage or namaskarams to that Vishnu before it can proceed further. All of this will happen naturally, so it kind of goes there, and eventually it reaches that pole's Dhruva Mandalam, and it sits there for some time. So that's why it says here Dhruva Padantamiyate. Dhruva Mandalam is the pole star where the Shweta Deepa is. So Agni Vasara Balarksha Pakshagaihi. So the ru that is there, we are going to break it up. So first put a visarga and comma, pakshagaihi, comma. Next word will start with the u. Uttarayana jusha cha daivataihi. Prapito ravipadam bhavatparo, comma. Modhavan dhruva padantam iyate. Modhavan is like, Modhavan just means one who is enjoying, right? And this enjoyment here is not, all this means is you no longer have any sufferings because you're liberated. And you're enjoying, in the sense, you're in the bliss of association with the Supreme Lord. That's what the Modavan is referring to here. Agnivasara Valaksha Pakshagaihi Uttarayana Jusha cha Daivataihi Prapito Ravipadam Bhavatparo Modavan Dhruva Padantamiyate.
अग्निवासरवलक्षपक्षगैः उत्तरायणजुषजा देवतैः पापितो रविपदं भवत्परो मोदवान् ध्रुवपदान्तमीयते. अग्निवासरवलक्षपक्षगैः उत्तरायणजुषजा देवतैः पापितो रविपदं भवत्परो Modavan Dhruva Padantamiyate.
Krishna, that first line, last word is Daivataihi.
Daivataihi.
Yeah.
Jushada Daivataihi.
Agnivasara-Valaksha-Pakshakai Chusha-cha Daivatai Prapito Ravipadam Bhavatparo मोदवान् ध्रुवपदान्तमीयते
So one second. And the first line middle also paksha gaihi visarga and daivataihi.
அதுவும் விசர்க். ஓகே. அக்னிவாசர வலர்க்ஷ பக்ஷகை உத்தராயண சுஜாஷ தைவதை பிராபிதோ
Daivataihi.
दैवदैः प्रापितो रविपदं भवत्परो मोदवान् ध्रुवपदान्तमीयते.
And the first line is jusha, ja sound. Uttarayana jusha cha daivataihi.
आच जुषाच
Yeah. Ja
सुजा
sound. No, you're saying sa, sa, you're saying. It is ja, ja. Jusha. Yeah.
जुषा.
आस्तितो तमहरालये यथा शेषवक्त्रदहनोष्मनाद्यते ईयते भवदुपाश्रयस्तथा वेदसः पदमतः पुरैव वा. So now the Jivatma, no longer the Jivatma, but the soul is continuing its journey. So once it reaches the Dhruvaloka, from there it goes one more level up. It goes to Maharloka. We'll see what those 14 words are little later. So that Maharloka, it says, is about 80 million miles above Dhruvaloka. That's where that Maharloka is. So Maharloka is a place where all these liberated sages are there. So if you want to kind of be with the liberated sages, then you go to the Maharloka. So it goes there, it waits. So all these beings who are there in all of these planets, like we said, the upper planets, they have the ability to go anywhere they want. And their life is 4.32 billion human years, which is equal to the 1 day of Brahma. And we'll go through that in very detail much later. But for now, it can sit there for 4.32 billion human years. At that time, then what happens is it then goes for when the first day of Brahma, when the day of Brahma gets over, there's one pralayam that happens. At that time, it then gets transported to Satyaloka, where Brahma is there. So it's like kind of, you're traveling from India to, you come to, Frankfurt and do an 8-hour halt. This is what it is. It goes to Brahmaloka. Once it goes to Brahmaloka, it sits along with Brahma for the rest of Brahma's life. It is like a halt it has to do there. If you're going through this path. So astitota maharalaye yada, sheshavaktra dahanoshmanadhyate ईयते भवदुपाश्रयस्तदा, वेदसः पुट F, पदमतः पुट F again, पदमतः पुरैव वा. आस्तितो तमहरालये यथा शेषवक्त्रदहनोष्मनाद्यते ईयते भवदुपाश्रयस्तथा वेदसः पदमतः पुरैव वा.
आस्तिदोऽथ महरालये यदा शेषवक्रदहनोष्मणद्यते ईयते भवदुपाश्रयस्तदा वेदसः परमतः पुरैव वा. आस्तिदोऽथ मकरालयो यदा शेषवक्रदहनोष्मणाद्यते ईयते भवदुपाश्रयस्तदा वेदसः पदमः पुरैव वा. पदमतः पुरैव वा.
आस्तितोदमकरालये यदा शेषवक्त्रदहनोष्मणाद्यते ईयते भवदुपाश्रयस्तदा वेदसः पदमतः पुरैव वा. आस्तितोदमकरालये यदा शेषवक्त्रदहनोष्मणाद्यते ईयते भवदुपाश्रयस्तदा वेदसः पदमतः पुरैव वा.
तत्र वा तव पदे तवावसन् प्राकृतप्रलययेति मुक्तता स्वेच्छया खलु पुरा विमुच्यते संविभिद्य जगदण्डमोजसा. So like it's now going, so now it goes to the Brahmaloka. So now it's like you're sitting in Frankfurt. Think of it that way. It's a long wait time for you. That's Brahmaloka. Because from Brahmaloka, for it to go to Vaikuntham to get liberated, it has to wait for 100 years of Brahma to get over, which is a very long time, right? So you can decide, you know what, I don't want to be sitting here. I want to take my private jet and just go off, which is what you now have an option. It says, if you do not want to wait in Brahmaloka, because you have the yogic powers, because you have the strength at the point you want, you can pierce through the Brahmandam. And I'll tell you what Brahmandam is in the next Dasakam. You can pierce through the Brahmandam with the yogic power, and finally you can decide to go merge in the Vaikunta set of planets, which are about 26 times 8, which is about 170 million miles above the Satyaloka. Right, that's the position of the Vaikunta set of planets. You can go merge into Vaikuntham on your own. You don't have to wait for all this rest of the worlds to get accumulated after 100 years of Brahma and everything to go merge. You can then take your private path and just go. You can with the yogic power. That's what it says. You now have a choice at that point if you want to do that. You don't have to wait. So tatra va tava padhetava vasan, sorry, yeah, prakrita pralaya eti muktatam swechhaya khalu pura vimuchyate. Some books may have pura api, it might be there. Some books have just pura vimuchyate. If you have pura api, you can remove the word api, it's not needed. So khalu pura vimuchyate, comma, samvibhidya jagadandham ojasa. तत्र वा तव पथे तवा वसन्ते प्राकृत प्रलययेति मुक्ततां स्वेच्छया खलु पुरा विमुच्यते संविभिद्य जगदण्डमोजसा.
तत्र वा तव पथेऽथवा वसन् प्राकृतप्रलय एति मुक्तताम् स्वेच्छया खलु पुरा विमुच्यते संविबिभ्यद जगदण्डम् ओजसाम्. तत्र वा तव पथेऽथवा वसन् प्राकृतप्रलय एति मुक्तताम् स्वेच्छया खलु पुरा विमुच्यते संविभृत्य जगदण्डम् ओजसाम्.
तत्र वा तव पदे तव वसन् प्राकृतप्रलययेति मुक्तताम् स्वच्छया खलु पुरा विमुच्यते संविभृत्य जगदण्डमोजसा.
And first word swechhaya.
स्वेच्छया स्वेच्छया
Ichhaya, according to your desire, if you want to.
Okay. तत्र वा तव पदे तव वसन् प्राकृतप्रलययेति मुक्तताम् स्वेच्छया खलु पुरा विमुच्यते संविभृत्य जगदण्डमोजसा.
14. तस्य च क्षितिपयो महो निलध्यो महत् प्रकृति सप्तकावृतीः तत्तदात्मकतया विशन् सुखी याति ते पदमनावृतं विभो. So now when you decide to go, when decides to go on your own, or even later on when all of that happens, and we'll see in 5 when the kind of whole evolution of the cosmos is happening, there are layers of things. So first is the supreme soul, which is there in Vaikuntham, the supreme consciousness, and then you have your intelligence, which is there, because this soul, when it's going even through your sukshma shariram, it still has the buddhi, it still has the intelligence, it still has the discretion of mind, it still has that. And it also has the sensory organs of perception and action, because you are able to move between places, right? So you are able to experience all of that. So you have all of those things. You just don't have a body like this. You can take any form or any shape you want. So you have complete freedom on it. So think of it as like an energy box, which has all of these abilities, right? Now when it is going back into merging, it has to start shedding each of these things, because ultimately only the core Mula Prakriti has to remain, which will eventually get merged. That's what he's saying here. When it's going through this Brahmandam and piercing, all the subtle, the Pancha Bhutas which are there, the Karmendriyangal, the Jnanendriyangal, the Manas, Buddhi, all of that start merging into the layers, and finally nothingness is left, which is you as a supreme consciousness. You then go and merge into the Brahman itself. That is the final step of going and merging. And some of this is going to happen in reverse in the next Dasakam as you go through the process of creation. So, tasya cha Kshiti payo mahonila, put a plus after mahonila. Dhyo mahat prakriti saptakavritihi. You can break each of these easily. Kshiti payo mahonila dhyo mahat prakriti saptakavritihi. Tattadhatma kataya vishan sukhi, comma, yati te padamanavrtam vibho. तस्य च क्षितिपयो महोनिलध्यो महत् प्रकृति सप्तकावृतीः तत्तदात्मकतया विशन् सुखी याति ते पदमनावृतं विभो.
पदमनावृतं
तस्
विभो
तस्य च क्षितिपतयो
Sorry, Amita, 1 second. Krishnan ji is going first. Go ahead.
तस्य च क्षितिपतयो महोनिलद्योद्यमत्प्रकृति सप्तवाकृतिः तत्तदात्मकतया विशन् सुखी याति ते पदमनावृतं विभो. तस्य च क्षितिपतयो महोनिलद्योद्यमत्प्रकृति सप्तकावृतिः तत्तदात्मकतया विशन् सुखी याति ते पदमनावृतं विभो.
First line, Kshiti payo.
क्षितिपतयो तस्य च
No,
क्षितिपतयो
you're
क्षितिपयो
yeah, that's it. Yeah,
क्षिति
Kshiti payo.
तस्य च क्षितिपयो महोनिल धियो महत् प्रकृति सप्तकावृतिः तत्तदात्मकतय विशन् सुखी याति ते पदमनावृतं विभो. तस्य च क्षितिपयो महोनिल धियो महत् प्रकृति सप्तकावृतिः तत्तदात्मकतयो विशन् सुखी याति ते पदमनावृतं विभो.
Second line, first word, kataya.
कथया तत्तदात्मकतया विशन् सुखी याति ते पदमनावृतं विभो.
That's the 15, last one. Archiradigatim idrishim brajan vichutim na bhajate jagatpate sachidatmaka bhavad gunodayan ucharantamanilesha pahimam. He wraps this by saying, in this way, whoever is going through the Archiradi Margam, which is the path of the light, which is the when you go liberated, if you're not getting liberated, you go what is called as the Dhumradi Margam, which is the path of the smoke. So if you're going through the Dhumradi Margam, you're bound to be born again. Either you may be born in the same way you're born now, or you may go to, you may take a different lower form, or you may go to lower planetary systems. But if you're going through the Archiradi Margam, you get liberated. So with this way, it kind of goes and finally merges into you. So he says, "Oh Guru Arappa, who's the supreme consciousness into which everything merges, please bless me so I'm always able to think about you and then eradicate all my ailments as well." Archiradi gatim idrishim brajan, comma, Vichutim na bhajate jagatpate Sachidatmaka bhavad gunodayan. So the nu that is there, we're going to break it, put the in. Bhavad gunodayan, comma. Next word will start with the u. Ucharantam anilesh. If you want to break it, that ma you can. You can say ucharantam anilesha together or ucharantam anilesha pahimam. Archiradi drishim brajan vichutim na bhajate jagatpate sachidatmaka bhavad gunodayan ucharantam anilesha pahimam.
अर्चिरादिगदिम् ईदृशीं व्रजन् वृच्छिदं न भजते जगत्पदे सच्चिदात्मकभवद्गुणोदयान् उच्चरन्तमनिलेश पाहि माम्.
First line comma is after Brajan.
Brajan. Archiradigadim ईदृशीं व्रजन् वृच्छिदं न भजते जगत्पदे सच्चिदात्मक भवद्गुणोदयान् उच्चरन्दमनिलेश पाहि माम्.
अर्चिरादिगतिम् ईदृशीं वृजन् विच्युतिं न भजते जगत्पते सच्चिदात्मक भवद्गुणोदयान् उच्चरन्तम् अनिलेश पाहि माम्. अर्चिरादिगतिम् ईदृशीं वृजन् विच्युतिं न भजते जगत्पते सच्चिदात्मक भवद्गुणोदयान् उच्चरन्तम् अनिलेश पाहि माम्.
Krishnaaya Parabrahmane Namaha. It's 4. Start with 5. We'll switch. Had Lalita, you can be a student, and Padmaja Ramesh, you can be a student. So that first 4 chapters kind of more are what you call, like we spoke about glory of the Lord, form of the Lord, how to be a perfect devotee, how to attain that Lord. That's first 4. Now that is, you think of that as one section. Now a completely new thing is going to start, right? So before we, it's easy for us to go talk about Rama Avataram, Vamana Avataram, all of this, because we understand it. But that's the, but before all of that happens, things should have happened, right? The great Supreme Bhagavan who we are talking about, who has created this entire cosmos, you have to first understand the power of the Bhagavan who has created that cosmos before you can start thinking about how he's taking a small avataram and coming and helping. Because when you think about everything that has happened, the avataram looks very insignificant, right? So you have to understand the power of that Supreme Paramatma, which is what it's going to start. Because Brahma himself doesn't come until Dasakam 7. So now 5 and 6 is going to talk about what is happening even before Brahma is coming. And the other false thing we have is, because of any number of reasons over a period of time, we say Matsya Avataram is the first avataram. Matsya Avataram is not the first avataram. 5th Dashakam is going to have the first avataram of Narayana, and we'll see what it is, right? So there's going to be multiple incarnations which have to happen even before Brahma is born, for all of these things to happen. So this is kind of technically the first avataram, as it is said in Bhagavatam, right, which is the form of the Purusha taking different forms for the cosmos to be created. So this is in the title in my book in Sanskrit is Virat Purushot Utpatti Prakara Varnanam. So the formation of the Virat Purusha is the title of this Dashakam. English it says cosmic evolution, which is kind of something seen as part of that chapter. Okay, so stanza 1. Vyaktam vyaktamidam na kinchida bhavate prakrita prakshahe mayayam gunasamya ruddha vikrutau tvayyagatayam layam no mrityuscha tadhamritam cha samabhut nano naratre stitihi tatraikastvamashishyatāh kila parananda prakashatmana. So some terms are going to come here, which we're going to cover later, so I won't get into the details of it. So when we say, where do I start, right? According to the Hinduism philosophy, there is nothing like a start. It's a cycle. So there is always a state of nothingness which is there, and then it starts, and then again it comes to the state of nothingness, right? So the point of starting is when the previous one has ended, right? And there's something called as a Prakrita Pralaya, which we'll see later, which is after the 100 years of Brahma, but there's absolute nothingness. So here it starts off by saying, at the end of it, when there is absolute nothingness, anything which was Vyaktam, which is clear and manifested, like us, the things we see around us, all of them are very clearly manifested in a particular form. And anything which is Avyaktam, which exists, but you cannot see it, right? Like air, you cannot see air. Right? All of those which are unmanifested, all of the Sukshma Shariram, the Stula Shariram, everything that was there is all merged into you at that point. And once everything is merged into you, there's absolute nothingness. There's no death, there's no liberation because nothing is being born. There's no day or night or concept because there's no light, there's no sun, nothing is there. Everything is in equilibrium. And when absolutely nothing is there, there's just you as a supreme bliss consciousness who's there. And that's all there is, right? So there's absolutely nothing, and you exist as a supreme bliss, just a consciousness energy which is sitting, and that is all there is when everything has come to an end. And from there we will start, right? So that is the end state of it. So vyakta vyaktamidam na kinchida bhavat. After it you put a comma. Prakrita prakshaye. The prakrita into the prakritika pralayam, which we'll see later. So prakrita prakshaye, comma, mayayam guna samya ruddha vikritau, comma, tvaya gatayam layam. They're all merged. Yeah, you are there, merged into you. Vyakta vyaktamidam na kinchida bhavate prakrita prakshaye मायायां गुणसाम्य रुद्ध विकृतौ त्वय्यागतायां लयम्.
व्यक्तमिदं न किञ्चिदभवत् प्राक्प्राकृतप्रक्षये मायायां गुणसाम्यरुद्धविकृतौ त्वय्यागतायां लयम्. व्यक्तमिदं न किञ्चिदभवत् प्राक्प्राकृतप्रक्षये मायायां गुणसाम्यरुद्धविकृतौ त्वय्यागतायां.
Sorry, Lalita, you broke a little bit. Okay, she froze. Kadasi, the last kekle, in the Tvaya Gatayam Layam, you just broke.
Okay.
You have a video, maybe you can try turning it off, Lalita. Okay, Padmaja, you go ahead, yeah.
व्यक्तमिदं न किञ्चिदभवत् प्राक्प्राकृतप्रक्षये मायायां गुणसाम्यरुद्धविकृतौ त्वय्यागतायां लयम्. व्यक्तमिदं न किञ्चिदभवत् प्राक्प्राकृतप्रक्षये मायायां गुणसाम्यरुद्धविकृतौ त्वय्यागतायां लयम्.
No mrityuscha tadamritam cha samabhut. You'll have an in there, N sound, in. You remove that, put the it under comma. Samabhut. Nahno na ratrehe. Put the is to join. Ratres stitihi. Visarga and comma at the end of that line. Nahno na ratres stitihi, comma. Next thing, if you have a is in Sanskrit, that goes away. Tatraikas Twama Shishyataha. You can put a ih to join, h to join. Shishyatah kila, comma. Parananda Prakashatmana. No mrityuscha tadhamritam cha samabhut. Nahno naratre stitihi. Tatraikas Twama Shishyatah kila. Parananda Prakashatmana. The drop. Yeah, it looks like she dropped. Hold on, let me see who else I had maybe today. Nalini, are you on? Can you be a student, Nalini?
I'm on, Rajesh, but I may have to go. Can you pick someone?
Shubha, Hari, are you on?
Yes,
okay.
I can. Should I go first?
No, Padmaja can go first. You can follow Shubha. Yeah. Go ahead, Padmaja.
No mrityuscha tadamritam cha samabhut नाप्नो न रात्रे स्थितिः तत्रैकस्त्वमशिष्यताः किल परानन्दप्रकाशात्मना. नो मृत्युश्च तदामृतं च समभूत् नाह्नो न रात्रे स्थितिः तत्रैकस्त्वमशिष्यताः किल परानन्दप्रकाशात्मना.
नो मृत्युश्च तदामृतं च समभूत् नाज्ञानो रात्रे स्थितिः तत्रैकस्त्वमशिष्यताः तत्रैकस्त्वमशिष्यता किल परानन्द प्रकाशात्मना नो मृत्युश्च तदामृतं च समभूत् नाह्नो न रात्रैः स्थितैः तत्रैकस्त्वमशिष्यता किल परानन्द प्रकाशात्मना.
On the fourth line after kila, there is a comma. Okay. Shishyatah kila paranand. Answer to Kalah karma gunascha jiva nivahaha vishwam cha karyam vibho chillilārati me yushittvaitada nirlīnatāṃ āyayuhu teshām naiva vadantya sattvamayī bhoः shaktyātmanā tishṭhatāṃ no chet kim gagana prasūna sadrishām bhūyo bhavet sambhavah. So in that state, when everything is merged into you, kala, there's no concept of time, karma, all these effects of good, bad actions, none of that is in existence. Gunas, the sattva, rajas, tamas, gunas, none of them is there. No jivaha, nothing is there. Entire universe, none of them is in existence, right? It's all merged into you. Now, it says that doesn't mean these do not exist, right? It says the Shrutis, which is the Vedas, also say, they never say that they do not exist. It just says they exist in a form which you cannot think of. They're not manifested form. And I'll give you a couple of simple examples, right? Because these things are very complex topics. So I'll give some very simple examples as a comparison point. Two examples I'll give. When you see a peacock, right? Male peacock, when it rains and it decides to attract the female, what it does is it opens up its wings. You suddenly see the peacock's wings in full bloom, right? Think of that as the entire universe which is in existence. The peacock can then just bring it all back. And now you see it without that. Does it mean that thing is not there? It is there. It is just not visible at this point. It is just merged into the peacock. The peacock can bring it back on whenever it wants. That's one example. The second simplest example you can think of it as, you take a seed, an apple seed. Now you plant the seed and then you're telling somebody a tree is coming out of it. Somebody's question, I don't see a tree inside that seed. How can a tree be inside that seed? But the seed is there. It has got all the ingredients. Just the surrounding things are not ready. It's not yet ready. And things have to happen for that, from that seed for a tree to come. Exactly same concept. It says it's all in existence. It's all in existence inside you in a sukshma form, because you are not yet ready for this to come out and then form the universe. So that's the simplest explanation. You cannot say it doesn't exist, because then where will it come from? It is in existence. It is just there inside you in a form which is not manifested in any shape or form. So kalaha, put a kalah, karma, gunascha, jiva nivahaha. So you're going to add a visarga there. You may not have it. Jiva nivahaha, comma. Vishwam cha karyam vibho, comma. Chillilaratim eyushi tvai tada, comma. Nirlīnatāṃ āyayuhu. Kālah karma gunāscha jīva nivahāha. Vishwam cha karyam vibho. Chillilārati me yushittvai tada. Nirlīnatāṃ āyayuhu.
कालः कर्म गुणाश्च जीवनिवहाः विश्वं च कार्यं विभो चिल्लीलारतिं येयुषि त्वयि तदा निर्लीनताम् आययुः कालः कर्म गुणाश्च जीवनिवहाः विश्वं च कार्यं विभो चिल्लीलारतिं येयुषि त्वयि तदा निर्लीनताम् आययुः
कालः कर्म गुणाश्च जीवनिवहाः विश्वं च कार्यं विभो चिल्लीलारति मेयुषि त्वयि तदा निर्लीनातमयायुः माययुः.
And the last word, nirlīnatāṃ āyayuhu.
Nirlīnata āyayuh. That ma will not be there.
And the ma, I'm just breaking it into im and a. Nirlinatam ayayuhu. If it's
Kalaf
yeah, go ahead.
Kalaf karma gunascha jiva nivahaha Vishwam cha karyam vibho Chillilarati meyushi tvaitada Nirlinatam ayayuhu.
Yeah, but it's easy to say it that way, you do it, or you can say nirlinatam ayayuhu in one word. Okay. Tesham naiva vadantya satvamayi bhoho, comma, shaktyatmana tishthatam, comma, no chet kim gagana prasuna sadrisham, comma, bhuyo bhavet sambhavah. तेषां नैव वदन्त्य सत्त्वमयि भोः शक्त्यात्मना तिष्ठतां नो चेत् किं गगनप्रसूनसदृशां भूयो भवेत् सम्भवः.
तेषां नैव वदन्त्य सत्यमयि भोः शक्त्यात्मना तिष्ठतां नो चेत् किं गगनप्रसूनसदृशां भूयो भवेत् सम्भवः. तेषां
Third line, sattva, you said satya, there's no ya there, sattva mayi bho.
सत्त्व तेषां नैव वदन्त्य सत्त्वमयि भोः शक्त्यात्मना तिष्ठतां नो चेत् किं गगनप्रसूनसदृशां भूयो भवेत् सम्भवः.
तेषां नैव वदन्त्य सत्त्वमयि भोः सत्यात्मना तिष्ठतां नो चेत् किं गगनप्रसून सदृशां भूयो भवेत् सम्भवः. तेषां नैव वदन्त्य सत्त्वमयि भोः सत्यात्मन तिष्ठतां नो चेत् किं गगनप्रसून सदृशां भूयो भवेत् सम्भवः.
एवं च द्विपरार्धकालविगता वीक्षांसि शिक्षात्मिकां बिभ्राणे त्वहि चुक्षुभे त्रिभुवनी भावाय माया स्वयं मायातः खलु कालशक्तिरखिला दृष्टं स्वभावोऽपि च प्रादुर्भूय गुणान् विकास्य भिदतुः तस्या सहायक्रियाम्. So this is dviparardha, right? And which is talking about the two parardhas of Brahma, which we'll cover later. But think of it as one parardha as 50 years, and that's why when you do a sankalpam, you say dvitiya pararthe, because you're in the second parardha of Brahma. So once the two parardhas of Brahma is done, which is kind of where we went to the beginning when there was nothing else, right? So that when that is over, now when the new thing has to start, right? So for us, we are all bound by karma. We do things because we are bound by activities. But the Supreme Brahman is not. He's not bound, he or she. There's no gender there. There's no shape. There's no form. That Brahman is not bound by any activities. That Brahman is only a witness to everything. Because that Brahman doesn't have any desire. Because the moment we do things because we have a motive behind doing everything. We want things. We have a desire for things. So we have a motive for doing something. It says this Brahman, for the creation to happen, the Brahman itself does not have any desire. The Brahman does not have any motive. Just like how when you bring a magnet and you have a whole bunch of iron nails next to it, the magnet has an inherent tendency or a property to attract the nails. Similarly, this Brahman, when it decides that time has come, at that point, creation automatically starts, just like how it automatically will end at a particular point. So it says there is no intention there. It is just a natural process, sequence of events which actually happen. So with that, the Maya, which says here, the Maya is referring to the creative power of the Brahman. So that Maya, when the appropriate time comes, just like alarm clock, when the appropriate time comes, then Maya then gets activated and then the process of creation starts. Just like it says, just like how a spider, when it requires something, automatically the cobwebs all come out, it starts creating it, and then when it's done, it actually can pull all of it back into it. Just like that, when the appropriate time comes, the Brahman decides, And then the process of creation is going to start. And the process of creation itself is this, you got to break it into two things. One is the creation of the Brahmandam itself, the 14 worlds. Then there's a creation of everybody starting from Brahma, which is second. The first is called Sarga, second is Visarga. It's two different things. So here the entire process starts just by process called Ikshana, which is the intent of you looking at it or wanting, there's no desire there. But so evam cha dvi parardha kala vigata viksham si srikshatmikam. So there's no pause in that line, comma at the end of that line. Si srikshatmikam. Bhibrane tvayi, comma. Chukshubhe tribhuvani bhavaya maya swayam. एवं च द्विपरार्धकालविगता वीक्षांसि सृक्षात्मिकां बिभ्राणे त्वयि चुक्षुभे त्रिभुवनी भावाय माया स्वयम्.
एवं च द्विपरार्धकालविगता वीक्षांसि सृक्षात्मिकां बिभ्राणे त्वयि सुक्षिभे त्रिभुवनी भावाय माया स्वयं.
Second line after comma is chukshubhe.
चुक्षुभे. एवं च द्विपरार्धकालविगता वीक्षांसि सृक्षात्मिकां बिभ्राणे त्वयि चुक्षुभे त्रिभुवनी भावाय माया स्वयम्.
एवं च द्विपरार्धकालविगता वीक्षां शिक्षात्मिकां बिभ्राणे त्वयि चुक्षुभे त्रिभुवनी भावाय माया स्वयम्. एवं च द्विपरार्धकालविगता वीक्षं शिक्षात्मिकां बिभ्राणे त्वयि चुक्षुभे त्रिभुवनी भावाय माया स्वयम्.
Mayatah, put a ich to join. Mayatah kalu, comma. Kala Shaktir Akhila. If you want to break it, you can say Kala Shaktir Akhila, or you can say the whole word together also. Kala Shaktir Akhila Drishtam Swabhavo Picha, comma. Pradur Bhuya Gunan Vikasya Vidaduhu. So that is that is there. You remove it, put a visarga, comma. Vidaduhu, comma. Tasyas Sahaya Kriyam. मायातः खलु कालशक्तिरखिला दृष्टं स्वभावोऽपि च प्रादुर्भूय गुणान् विकास्य विदधुः तस्या सहायक्रियाम्.
मायातः खलु कालशक्तिरखिला दृष्टं स्वभावोऽपि च प्रादुर्भूय गुणान् विकास्य विदधुः तस्या सहायक्रियाम्.
Kalu, there is a comma, okay?
Oh, in that color.
Mayatah kalu.
Okay. मायातः खलु कालशक्तिरखिला दृष्टं स्वभावोऽपि च प्रादुर्भूय गुणान् विकास्य विदधुः तस्या सहायक्रियाम्.
मायातः खलु कालशक्तिरखिल दृष्टं स्वभावोऽपि च प्रादुर्भूय गुणान् विकास्य विदधुः तस्या सहायक्रियाम्. मायातः खलु कालशक्तिरखिल दृष्टं स्वभावोऽपि च प्रादुर्भूय गुणान् विकास्य विदधुः तस्या सहायक्रियाम्.
Last word, Sahayakriyam.
तस्या सहायक्रियाम्.
माया सन्निहितो प्रविष्ट वपुषा साक्षीति गीतो भवान् भेदैस्तां प्रतिबिम्बतो विविशिवान् जीवोऽपि नैवापरः कालादिप्रतिबोधिता भवता संचोदिता च स्वयं माया सा खलु बुद्धितत्त्वमसृजत् योऽसौ महानुच्यते. So one of the things, when we talk about this, it's a little complicated, very theoretical, right? But the basics to think about it is, before people, humans, and even demigods, everybody has to come. You need to have the environment to be there, the worlds to be there. Before the worlds have to be there, you need to have the material to be able to create the world. Before the material itself comes, you need to have the basic, like clay to create something, right? Think of it that way. So it has to go in that sequence, right? Because when there's absolutely nothingness, you can't just say the world got created, right? So here it talks to some little complicated things. It says there's something called as a prakriti, which you'll hear. It also come in Dasakam 14 and 15 when we talk about Sankhya philosophy. This prakriti, it means something from which things can come, but nothing can result in prakriti. It's kind of like, it's called the Mula Prakriti. It's the base, right? There's no before that, right? So that Mula Prakriti, it says, it is in an unmanifested and undifferentiated. It's a matter. And what I mean by those two words are, if you think of, unmanifested means it has got the potential, but it has not manifested in any form. So the simple example is that seed. A seed is there. A seed has the potential to become a tree, but the seed has not become a tree, right? So the seed is an example of something which is unmanifested. It has a potential, but nothing has happened. Then undifferentiated form of this prakriti means it's like a block of clay. I have a big block of clay. I cannot separate out anything. The entire clay is the same, but I can take the same clay. I can create 10 different shapes. I can give it 10 different colors, and they all look different, right? But at the end of the day, it is just a block of clay. So the prakriti, initially, it says it's this unmanifested form. It's in an undifferentiated form. It is just there, right? Without anything. So then when this process is starting, that's when this creation, so the first thing that comes is something called as a mahat. Okay, so that first mahat which is coming is the first manifestation of this prakriti in anything. And what that mahat means is a universal consciousness which is there. And the universal consciousness means it is the consciousness of the Supreme and the consciousness of everything that is going to come in the future. Because originally there is only one consciousness that is there, the Supreme consciousness. That is called as a Mahat. That is called the intelligence, or you can call as universal consciousness. And then we'll see how this Mahat then takes different forms. But it is the first thing which is coming there. Yoso Mahan, the first Buddhi Tattam Ashrita, Yoso Mahan Uchyate, saying for all of it to come, you then first have to create the Supreme consciousness, which means everybody is one. Merged with the Supreme, that Supreme consciousness is the first thing that is getting formed. So Maya Sannihito Pravishta, it's Apravishta, but because the S symbol is coming, you cannot break those words. So Maya Sannihito Pravishta Vapusha, comma, Sakshiti Gito Bhavan, comma, Bhedaistam Pratibhimbato Bibishivan, comma, Jivopi Naivaparaha. Maya Sannihito Pravishta Vapusha Sakshiti Gito Bhavan Bhedaistam Pratibhimbato Vivishivan Jivopi Naivaparaha.
Maya sannihito pravishta vapusha sakshiti gito bhavan bedaistam pratibimbato vivishivan jivopi naiva paraha. Maya sannihito pravishta vapusha sakshiti gito bhavan bedaistam pratibimbato vivishivan Jivopi naiva paraha.
Maya sannihito pravishta vapusha sakshiti gito bhavan Vedaistam pratibimbato vivishivan Jivopi naiva paraha. Maya sannihito vapusha साक्षीति गीतो भवान् भेदैस्तां प्रतिबिम्बतो विविशिवान् जीवोऽपि नैवापरः
कालाधि प्रतिबोधितात भवता संचोदिता च स्वयं माया सा खलु बुद्धि tattvam. So you can break it that ma if you want to. Buddhi tattvam asrijat yosau. You'll have a dhya, dhya. If you want to break it, it buddhi tattvam asrijat yosau mahanuchyate. If you want to break it, or you can say it together. कालादि प्रतिबोधितात भवता संचोदिता च स्वयं माया सा खलु बुद्धि तत्त्वमसृजत् योऽसौ महानुच्यते
कालादिप्रतिबोधिताथ भवता संचोदिता च स्वयं माया सा खलु बुद्धितत्त्वम् असृजत् योऽसौ महानुच्यते कालादिप्रतिबोधिताथ भवता संचोदिता च स्वयं माया सा खलु बुद्धितत्त्वम् असृजत् योऽसौ महानुच्यते
कालादिप्रतिबोधितात् भवत संचोदिता च स्वयं माया सा खलु बुद्धितत्त्वम् असृजत् योऽसौ महानुच्यते कालादिप्रतिबोधितात् भवत संचोदिता च स्वयं माया सा खलु बुद्धितत्त्वम् असृजत् योऽसौ महानुच्यते.
Do one more and stop. I'll say the meaning for fifth in the next class. तत्रासौ त्रिगुणात्मकोऽपि च महान् सत्त्वप्रधानः स्वयं जीवेऽस्मिन् खलु निर्विकल्पमहमित्युद्बोधनिष्पादकः चक्रेऽस्मिन् सविकल्पबोधकमहन् तत्त्वं महान् खल्वसौ सम्पुष्टं त्रिगुणैस्तमोति बहुलं विष्णो भवत्प्रेरणात् तत्रासौ त्रिगुणात्मकोऽपि च महान् सत्व प्रधानः put is सत्व प्रधानः स्वयं जीवेस्मिन् खलु निर्विकल्पम. So that entire word I'm going to break it into a few parts if you want to. निर्विकल्पम aham ityudbodha nishpadakah. Okay, so निर्विकल्पम aham ityudbodha nishpadakah. तत्रासौ त्रिगुणात्मकोऽपि च महान् सत्त्वप्रधानः स्वयं जीवेऽस्मिन् खलु निर्विकल्पम् अहमित्युद्बोधनिष्पादकः
तत्रासौ त्रिगुणात्मकोऽपि च महान् सत्त्वप्रधानः स्वयं जीवेऽस्मिन् खलु निर्विकल्पम् अहम् इत्बोधनिष्पादकः
अहम् ityudbodh.
Oh, ityudbodh.
Yeah, one time is okay. I think we'll run out of time today. So go ahead, Shubha. One time is okay.
तत्रासौ त्रिगुणात्मकोऽपि च महान् सत्त्वप्रधानः स्वयं जीवेऽस्मिन् खलु निर्विकल्प अहम् निष्पादकः
चक्रेऽस्मिन् सविकल्प बोधक महन् तत्त्वं महान् खल्वसौ continuously comma at the end sampushtam triguणैस्तमोति bahulam comma Vishnu bhavat preranat. Chakresmin savikalpa bodhakamahan tattvam mahan khalvasau sampushtam trigunaistamoti bahulam Vishnu bhavat preranat.
चक्रेऽस्मिन् सविकल्पबोधकमहं तत्त्वं महान् कल्वसौ सम्पुष्टं त्रिगुणैस्तमोति बहुलं विष्णो भवत्प्रेरणात्
चक्रेऽस्मिन् सविकल्पबोधकमहन् तत्त्वमहान् कल्वसौ सम्पुष्टं त्रिगुणैस्तमोति बहुलं विष्णो भवत्प्रेरणात्.
Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Sandhanandhavabodhatmakamanupamitam kaladeshavadibhyam nirmuktam nityamuktam nigamashatasahasrena nirbhasyamanam aspashtam drishtamatre punarurupurusharthatmakam brahmatattvam tattavadbhati sakshat gurupavanapure hanta bhagyam jananam काहेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Thank you, everyone. It'll become a little bit more easy to understand, at least once we start coming to like the 9th and 10th chapter, because then it'll be more relatable to us. Because right now this is all like, theoretical physics, Mari. It'll go into very complicated things, but it's important to at least know how, at least, there was somebody behind the creation. It's not magic, right? I think that was the intention of in Bhagavatam and this, to talk about it, because even when Shukra Brahman talks in Bhagavatam, he doesn't directly jump to Parikshit to say, let me talk to you about Krishna Avataram. And he says, before you understand Krishna, you have to understand the power behind it, right? And then you have to go through the process, of how everything comes. You can't directly jump to the end, right? So that's why it's all go through anyways. So, okay. Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Rajesh.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you.
Namaskar.